Hi, Joanne.
Hi, Claire.
How are you?
I'm well. And you?
I'm very, very well. I'm very excited about our conversation today, actually, and super excited to share your method called In the Zone. I've done a little bit of reading about it, and we're going to share that with all of our viewers today. What is it, and how do I get there?
Okay, so the zone is a state of being, and when you're in the state, what it feels like is that there's no stress, but you're performing at very high levels, and the body is relaxed, and the mind is actually quite quiet. It's not trying to run the show and tell you what to do. If anything, it's just sitting back observing what's happening. And the five senses are fully heightened, so you see colors and you smell smells far more intensely than you would otherwise. And there's a different perception to time. So it feels like time's stretching, or it's timeless. And then at the end, when you're out of it and you look at your watch, you go, ooh, time's flown. But in the middle of being in the zone, it's endless.
So it's not like being in the zone in a way that you don't remember what, like going for that drive and realizing that you've pulled up and not remembering where you've been for the past hour.
No, it's not autopilot.
It's a completely different in the zone to what
in the
people
zone
know
you're
of.
fully aware every moment, and the highest level of the zone state is what is often called flow. And most people tend to use flow and zone interchangeably. They talk about how I was in the flow state, but they're quite different. Flow is the highest level of zone. But in the zone, it kind of feels like you're meeting your potential. So you're achieving, you're doing really great stuff. In flow, it feels like life comes to you. And so instead of you getting on the phone and getting some deals and winning some business, the phone's ringing and clients are calling you and saying, I want you to work with me. And there's a sense of ease, and because of that, and because life comes to you, it feels like you exceed your potential.
Okay, so all of these methods and ideologies that you teach, you obviously teach because you've experienced and seen what stress and burnout can do to people, not just personally but professionally as well. How do we avoid burnout?
It's a really good question, particularly because we acclimatize to stress really quickly, and then we don't notice how severely stressed we very gradually become, because that feels like how we've always been. It feels normal. And so when you're unaware that you're at that level of stress, how it becomes far more obvious probably to people around you is that your threshold for tolerance is almost non-existent. Yeah, so the smallest things trigger you. We call that the straw that breaks the camel's back. So you're constantly losing it. The danger is that at that point, it's manifesting as aggression and frustration and impatience. But if you continue, what then evolves is you get into a state where it feels like you've hit the wall. So it's a struggle to get out of bed. You've got no energy, definitely no joy or passion for what you used to love to do. And it kind of feels like you're just going through the motions. And some people call that adrenal fatigue.
I've read about that. I've done a little bit of reading about that because, and especially in, I guess, running a business, being a startup, even being an established business, it kind of, we've accepted this kind of expectation that stress just comes with building a business and being more successful. And sometimes when I've got 300 emails and I'm managing 25 designers and day-to-day things, I do get stressed. I just thought that was part of, I love what I do, but I just thought it was normal. It was normal.
Yeah.
Is stress not?
It is the biggest myth of all time.
Okay.
Yeah, so stress is a normal biological response to a perceived danger, the fight, flight, fright response. But in 21st century living, our experience of stress is no longer normal. So how our bodies were designed to cope with stress is, say, back in the day, you see a saber-toothed tiger, your stress level spike, but these critters, they're pretty fast. So very quickly, either you've outrun it somehow, or it's caught you and eaten you, but either way, your stress level spikes and drops very quickly. In 21st century living though, what our stress looks like is we get triggered by that really annoying neighbor who mows the lawn at 7 a.m. on a Sunday morning. We calm down a little, but before we fully decompressed, we have a huge fight with the kids, or the kids have a huge fight with each other, and then we end up yelling at them and everyone's yelling. Then we go to work on Monday and our stress levels haven't completely subsided, and then there's...
So it's just a snowball.
Yeah, it's one escalation after another.
Okay.
Yeah, so we never decompress fully, and our stress builds on our current stress level. So eventually you get to that point where everything is too much and you're fast approaching hitting the wall.
Okay. You and I should talk about that, and I expect that a lot of people who will be watching this will get in touch with you, because it's great to know that stress doesn't have to be part of building a business.
And not only that, it's actually counterproductive to phenomenal performance.
And is this, I mean, where has all this come from? Is this something that you've learned from personal experiences, your professional experiences? How did it all start? How did your business come to be?
Yeah, so 11 years ago, I think I was just at the point where I was just holding it together. And for me, the biggest trigger wasn't work, it was the fact that I'd become a parent. And parenthood and having children has been absolutely the most rewarding thing I've ever done, and also the toughest thing I've ever done.
Do they stress you out?
Pardon?
Do they stress you out?
No. Yes, absolutely.
Just a little bit?
You know, as a type A perfectionist, type A personality with perfectionist tendencies, it was a massive shock to learn I couldn't organize babies and young children. Go figure. So my kids kept pushing my buttons, my stress levels were up to here, and my sister came to visit, and she had just written a book and put together a coaching program on how to eliminate stress, and she called it the Zone Program. She saw the state I was in and essentially trained me up in it. And it transformed the relationship I have with my kids from that day.
That's amazing.
And then when I went to work, I found I got into flow. And I'd never before experienced working without stress and finding that I could actually perform better than I'd ever performed before, stressed out. It was a revelation to me. So I became an accredited zone coach and thought, I think I need to help show the world of other stressed out people that there is another, better, more productive way of performing and living a life.
It sounds so simple when you say it, but it's quite difficult to achieve, but obviously that's why you do what you do, so that you can teach people and empower people with the right tools so that they can eliminate stress from their lives. And when you're not stressed at work, you're not stressed at home. And so obviously it has a whole circle impact.
Absolutely.
It's incredible. So in a work environment then, how much does stress play a role in the office, the being surrounded by, you spoke about it before, the spiky people? I mean, I've been in some stressful workplaces in the past. Everyone has, yeah. So why then is it so important to be surrounded by the right people in the right community?
Because I don't think it's part of the human condition that we're always in the zone. I think our human condition involves us feeling the full range of emotions, you know, from all the yucky stuff like the grief and the anger and the frustration and the guilt, all the way through to unconditional love, if you like. Yeah. But what's not normal is to get stuck in what I call the zoo, which is where you've got all this nasty emotions and these not very collaborative and productive relationships. So on the days when you're down, particularly if you don't have very effective or powerful tools, or the energy some days to actually do what you know would help you get into a better place, it's helpful just by osmosis to pick up on other people's energy that's positive. Just give you that little bit of boost.
And Creative Cubes is full of positive vibes. We've spoken about it before about the happiness team. It's something that you see as soon as you come in. I think when you start your day in that state, and obviously with good methods and tactics, it's something that you can continue the whole day.
Yeah.
And you are in between, you're a bit of both, an established business and a startup business. So for startup businesses, does being in the zone and coping with, I guess, starting up a business, how does that impact? Does it impact the growth timeline? Does it just, it makes you happier? Why is it so important for startups to sort of...
I think that when you start something, whether it's a business or a new relationship or a new job, most of us intuitively fall into the zone. So when you think about it, there's so much excitement and there's optimism. You're really focused and it feels effortless. You know, the reason entrepreneurs spend massive hours working at the beginning, it's not because someone's got a gun to their head, it's because they love what they do and it makes them feel fantastic. We all start in the zone. And then what happens is, if you're not able to manage the amount of adrenaline and cortisol that's flowing through the system, but as soon as cortisol comes in, your performance starts to drop. That's what neuroscience says. And when your performance starts to drop, most people tend to start to work harder because they've noticed the drop in performance. And the harder you work, the more tired you get, the more cortisol kicks in. And so on this side of the curve, where you feel fantastic, it doesn't feel like stress. It just feels like joy. This side of the curve, it feels like anxiety and stress and fear and, oh my God, I could fail at this. So you can actually perform on either side of that curve. You can perform at the same level in the zone, where you're feeling great, or in the zoo, where your performance is dropping. Yeah, so as an entrepreneur, I think if you can stay on this side of the curve, chances are your business is going to have legs to continue.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that today. I've definitely learned a lot. I think we've all learned quite a lot. It's about getting out of the zoo and into the zone is really important. I've also learnt two other really important things. Stress is a dirty word, and stress isn't an essential part of growing a business. If you want to start a business, sustain a business, make your business better, it doesn't have to come with stress. And that's something really important to remember. If you want to learn more about it, head to inthezone.co. Joanne will be more than happy to help coach you through the tactics and the methods to make your business better. And as always, tune in next time for more good stories about good people doing good things. Bye.